Good morning everybody, welcome to a lettings special of the Bourne Property Show live with myself, Lewis, a good sales manager, and my able co-host Marina, a lettings manager. Good morning.
Morning.
Back, popular demand. When you were on last time, the viewing figures shot up, so it's good to have you back, and we're going to today talk very much about lettings market.
Yes.
What's happened in the first quarter, give you some lettings advice, and also give you a little bit of an idea of some kind of top kind of picks of properties which might be good buy-to-let properties. Yes. And obviously what's going on in the rental market in Bourne. So we'll kick off straight away as I'm just looking through. As always, please drop us a line if you're obviously watching live this morning. Drop us a line, send us your comments, your likes, your hearts on the live broadcast. So we can obviously see those. Any questions you've got whilst we're on air, or indeed afterwards when we rebroadcast this later on, please also send those through to us, and myself and Marina, more importantly, will be able to help us out. So we will kick off, Marina, if we may, as a little bit of an overview on what's happening first quarter of the lettings market, which from the price index which we've seen on Rightmove, it's looking quite buoyant at the minute.
Oh, it is, definitely, yeah. It's really buoyant in Bourne particular at the moment. We've got around 40 properties that are available to let in Bourne at the moment. So we're a very, very popular area. We've been looking sort of at the figures, and there is a lot of demand for buy-to-let properties at the moment. So the demand is out there.
So what we've seen so far, just by having a little bit of a look on the Rightmove first quarter report, 42 available properties to let in a Bourne and 3 mile radius, which is really buoyant, because traditionally Bourne usually only has a handful at best.
Yes.
So that really shows, obviously, not only a lot of people maybe looking to go and buy their next first property, so those properties are coming available. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing there's a bit of a turnover there of end of kind of rental agreements and terms of agreement as well. The statistics also show that currently there are 23 properties under application. Yeah. So, you know, as a total there, 33% of the total property, or indeed short term, 50% of the available stock is under application. So that's really buoyant. And looking at the Rightmove price index, it shows obviously in the first quarter for this region, from quarter 4 of last year, which is October through to December, and then January through to March, not really too much of a significant change. No. In terms of the average rental price, which comes in at £623 per calendar month, but year on year increase of £16 per month, so it was £607 this time last year. So it is showing the rental market's going the right way.
Yeah, it is. It's very buoyant at the moment, and I think historically, because there has been a shortage of properties on the rental market, that has pushed the prices up a little bit, because there's a huge demand for rental properties, but as I say, historically there's been less properties available, so that has pushed prices up.
Okay. So we're going to look first of all at a little bit of advice. You've got a bit of advice on in terms of buy-to-lets, kind of what landlords should consider, what landlords should be thinking about when they're getting their first buy-to-let or adding to their portfolio, and you've got a little bit of sound advice and a few kind of sound bites and ideas.
Yeah, there's obviously there's a lot to consider when you're looking to buy an investment property. You have to think about the kind of tenants that you're looking for. The 3 sort of main target areas you'd be looking at is potentially a single person looking to rent for the first time. The kind of properties they're going to be looking for would be 1-bedroom flats, studio flats, and in regards to the kind of decor you'd be looking at, obviously you wouldn't want to be spending a huge amount of money investing in those kind of properties. You don't want to be putting in designer kitchens, expensive carpets, because a single person is looking for something functional to get them on that first step of the housing ladder. The second group, you'd be looking at families. So families are potentially going to be looking to make a stamp on that property. They're looking to make it a home. So you'd be looking at something of a blank canvas, something that you're prepared to allow a tenant to decorate themselves, put their own furniture in, put their own pictures in. And then the third group would be potentially older group of people who have potentially sold their properties, released equity, and are looking for a long-term place to live. Again, you're going to be looking at 1 to 2 bedroom, maybe ground floor apartments, something that's very functional, stylish and easy to look after, and obviously they're going to have a lot of their own furniture as well. So you need to think about what kind of tenant you want to attract, what properties you're looking at, what kind of age ranges, and also the areas. So somebody who is older may be looking for a more town central location. If it's a single person, they're likely to have their own transport, so parking is obviously something that's going to be important to them. And also if you're looking for a family, you're going to be looking for a location that is near to utilities, good schools, good transportation as well. So you need to think about what kind of person you're actually looking to attract.
Would it be fairly safe to say that probably the biggest marketplace, in my own opinion, would be those people that are looking to get onto the housing ladder? So they will be first time buyers of the future.
Yes.
But those kind of business professionals, young professional couples.
Yes.
So those kind of modern 2-bedroom semi-detached houses that have got a driveway, maybe a garage, are kind of the prime type of property to look to to let out.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, excellent. Well, it's probably a good time for me to be the able assistant at this point, and maybe give you 2 or 3 examples. So I'll go down here, and then I do my Debbie McGee bit, and there we go. So I'll just make sure this sits on the camera properly before we start going into it. So. Giving you some examples of properties which are on the market at the moment, which you've identified as potential suitable investment properties for an investor to add to portfolio. So this is a 2-bedroom ground floor apartment right in the heart of the town centre on South Street in Bourne, on for 110,000. Suitable target market, suitable kind of thought process for this one, and what it worth.
So this property is designed specifically for the over 50s. So you're looking for the slightly older market. It's an ideal property because it is in the centre of town. You're close to the shops, restaurants. You've got a lovely park over the road, so it's a really beautiful location. This property is actually on the market at £110,000. There is management charges, so obviously as a buy-to-let investor you do need to consider management charges on properties. It's quite minimum for this property. You'd be looking at a really good rental yield of 6% on this, because you'd be looking at around 550 to 600 per calendar month for this property, and at 550 you're looking at 6% yield.
Okay. And I think on a previous broadcast that myself and Mike discussed, there was an ever-growing, if I may say, older population of people that are going into rental now, purely because of releasing that money to be able to maybe pass it on to sons, daughters, or the grandchildren. Downsizing, looking to maybe just enjoy life, more holidays, but also trying to cut a lot of the expense of living as well. And that's a massive factor as well. And myself and Mike broadcast something a few weeks ago about the ageing population of people doing private rentals, and indeed, more importantly, the demographic of kind of people in their 60s onwards that are now going very much into rental properties. So this would be very much prime to the marketplace at the moment.
Yeah, and also we mustn't forget that the older generation, 50 years ago, people in their 60s and 70s were already being considered for old people's homes, and that is very much not the case anymore. The older generation is still very much active, financially independent, and so are looking to enjoy their later years and as we said, downsize, free up their investments and their monies to actually be able to enjoy life and still go on holiday.
Fantastic. So just bringing on a couple more examples. Again, this is probably a slightly different demographic of person that would look to let this out. This is a 1-bedroom first floor flat. Again, right in the heart of the town centre on Burley Street, which for those people that know it is kind of the back of the town centre. Not too far from Sainsbury's, but really close in terms of cut-throughs to the town centre. This is being sold with no upward chain. It's on for 82,000. I'm guessing, again, it could be a single person, well, a single person on their own, but maybe suitable for more the younger person looking to get a bit of independence on the ladder. It's a bit cheaper in terms of the monthly rental.
Yeah. So this property, it's on the market for £82,000, and you'd be looking at a rental yield of around £465 a month, which is very affordable. But crucially, the rental yield on this is going to be 6.8%. So it's a really, really good investment. As you said, it's an ideal location for somebody who is looking to get on the market, maybe working locally. I believe they have allocated parking as well.
Yes, it does, yeah.
So absolutely ideal. You've got parking, you've got in-town parking, and it would be a great investment. Short-term or long-term rentals, you may find that a younger person may be looking for a shorter rental term, but you may equally find, because of the location, it's absolutely fantastic for a long-term rental person who just wants to settle down and find somewhere local to live, really.
So as an investor, great little property. It's not that expensive on the grand scheme of things. Would be a perfect little kind of first time investment purchase, really.
Exactly, and there's, as you can see from the pictures, it's ready to move into. It doesn't need a huge amount of work doing to it. I did check on the energy performance certificate for this property, and it's actually quite high. You're looking at a range of C, so in which case you don't need to worry about anything in regards to the new energy efficiency regulations that have just come in. As of the 1st of April, you must, if you're going to rent a property, it must be of a level of E or above. Anything below that, you are unable to rent, to have that up for rental, because there are fines of up to £5,000. By 2020, that will be across the board for all properties. But any new rentals at the moment that are being rented out as a new tenancy agreement must be E and above. So with this property, even though it's a slightly older building, it does pass those energy efficient regulations. So it'd be, minimum work required to get a tenant in there.
So a good bit of advice there, really. If you are going to buy your first investment property or add to your portfolio, do make your investigations on the efficiency of the property. Do look at the heating systems, take into consideration the age of the property, double glazing, insulation where applicable. All these are now going to become very poignant when it comes to looking to let properties out. And what you don't want to do is eat into your yield, or indeed it costs your investment more if you are going to have to spend X amount of money improving things, be it whether that's double glazing, heating, or any other factors which influence a energy performance rating. So great bit of advice there. It's a bit of a buyer beware. Do your due diligence and your investigations when you're looking at the property. So we'll look at a couple more just to finish off with on this section as he drops them on the floor. There we go. I'm not a very good assistant, you see. I've usually got people to do this for me. But we've got a couple of properties here. We've got a 2-bedroom modern semi-detached home in Sleaford on Falcon Way, which has just come to the market at £135,000. And then in Bourne we've got a really nice 3-bedroom semi-detached, again right in the heart of the town centre on Manning Road. That's on for £170,000, being sold with no upward chain. Again, a great little purchase there. So your thoughts on both of these?
So the Court Cottage in Manning Road, that covers the third sort of demographic that I was talking about earlier, which would be maybe a young family with maybe 1 or 2 young children, very close to the primary schools, fantastic. There's parking. You've got a little courtyard garden. It's ready to move into. There's virtually no work needed on this property. It's really good standard. You'd be looking at this property around £725 a month. So that would give you a 5.12% yield.
And it's fairly safe to say there, Marina, that obviously anything, I think, kind of above 5% yield-wise is a safe investment.
Yes, definitely. When you think about what fixed savings accounts are offering at the moment, if you're looking around 3%. So at 5%, when you take into account any income tax that you have to pay in regards to being a landlord, you're still getting a really good long-term investment and a good return on your investment there.
Fantastic. And Sleaford, obviously, ideal, I'm guessing, kind of starter home again for a professional couple.
Yes, definitely.
Especially if you're probably working in all the kind of Boston's, Lincoln, potentially Bourne areas as well, but ideally, especially the Lincoln, Boston areas, great little property there off the main areas of the A15, A17, main roundabout there at Holdingham, so it's a great little property in terms of geographical location. What sort of figure do you think we might be able to fetch on this one?
So you're looking around £600 per calendar month for this property, so again you're over 5%, 5.33%, and as you said, Sleaford is the relatively new build for this property, and you have to think about when you're buying an investment property, location. So commuter belt, absolutely ideal. People are generally not wanting to live in the centre of cities and the centre of towns. They're looking also to look on the outskirts, so a commuter belt property, absolutely ideal.
Yeah, no, perfect. So some great little potential investments there, and it's great to give some examples of target markets, obviously rental values more importantly, the yields, and our advice and Marina's advice more importantly on what are the ideal properties to look to buy. So just moving on a little bit, obviously we've talked a little bit about kind of yields, maximising rental. Obviously it's a little bit like when you're obviously looking to sell your home. You want to sell your home for the best possible price.
Yes.
And obviously that's a natural reaction to any seller, to sell for the best possible price. It's my job to obviously inform people that it isn't just about getting the best possible price, but it's also making sure you're getting the best type of buyer. That buyer that obviously is fully qualified, they're in a position to proceed, everything's in place, and they're meeting the timescales and the requirements that we ask for to work for our vendor, to make sure obviously that they're getting the best price and the transaction through in the best possible time. And it's very similar in the lettings world as well. There's that balance of what's more important, trying to get the maximum rental possible, or obviously kind of making sure that you've got a steady, maybe long-term tenant.
Yes, definitely. Again, it goes back to thinking about what kind of tenant you're looking for. Obviously, someone who maybe has one or two young children, they'll be looking for more of a long-term place to live. So what you're looking for is to get that good balance of the right rental figure that you're looking for, but also you want someone who's staying long term. So sometimes it's better to think maybe just go slightly lower on your rental income, but then you've got a longer term, more steady income, and also you're less likely to have any void periods. And if your tenant does leave, you want to minimise that time when your property is empty, because as soon as it's empty, as a landlord, it's going to be costing you money. So you're looking for a nice, again, also we're looking, I touched on earlier, when you're buying an investment property, how much you spend on that property doing it up prior to rental. So we always advise, something that you need to consider: carpets, high wear. So you're going to be looking at something very functional, but something that's still going to be attractive. And also when it comes to kitchens, bathrooms, tenants, they're going to be using it as their own home, but as I said before, if it's a family, they're going to be wanting to stamp their own identity. So don't spend huge amounts of money decorating a property. We always advise to go magnolia throughout, and then if a tenant would like to decorate themselves, they can do so, and it's not going to be, maybe if you've spent a lot of money on a property and you've spent it on a lovely colour in the lounge, a tenant may move in and not like it.
And more importantly, the more money you spend on the property, the more it's going to eat into your investment, which affects your yield in the long term as well. If you spend £5,000 on the property pre-letting it out, you've got to remember to divide that by 12, and that's going to come off, your monthly return effectively from a business perspective. So that could affect your yield as well. So I think the key message is be savvy in what you look to buy. The sound of the investment, the better. If it does need work, make sure you reflect it in the offer and do your sums, and come and speak to Marina to get some advice on what sort of offer you should look to put forward, so it factors in making sure your yield stays above a 5% return as well. So that's been really kind of useful there, some of the advice that you've given there. The lettings market is as buoyant at the moment as it is with the residential house selling market, and here at Hill & Clark we have obviously our dedicated lettings manager Marina, who obviously wants to give you as much advice and help as possible. The first video we did during that really bad snowfall, when we were basically just trying to to entertain everybody because we're all stuck at home, but it was viewed by well over 2,000 people. Lots of really good feedback as well, because we're here to try and give you as much advice and help as possible. So if you do have any questions, if you're looking to buy an investment property, if you've got one that you're looking to let out, or you have a current portfolio, or indeed if you are a tenant that's either in an existing property and looking for another one, or looking for your first property to let, please visit us here at the office here in Bourne. You can drop us a line at 01778 30069. You can drop us an email, bournesales@hillclark.co.uk, and you can also drop us a message in the comments box below. This will be rebroadcast again later on today, so obviously as many people as possible can take this really sound advice from Marina, or indeed drop us a message via our Facebook page as well. Marina will be more than happy to sit down and have a chat with you and give you as much advice as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a fantastic show. It's our letting special, which we're going to look to bring to you at least once a month, if not more, to give you the latest information on the lettings market. Next week it'll be myself and Mike Hollandby back in the chair, where we'll be giving some really good advice on the housing market going into the spring period, and starting to consider, and I don't want to wish our lives away, we're starting to consider the time of year which involves the new school term in September, even having one eye on the autumn period as well. That's how far you have to think ahead when it comes to the housing market. So thank you, Marina, really been appreciated, your advice and your time. That's our letting special, and we will see you next week for the Bourne Property Show Live.